It was almost like this drum beat saying, as if the other voice inside was saying, Tim, say it, say the words, it's not real. And just gotta say it, say it, say it, it's not real. And it's eventually just like, it's not real. And as soon as I said it, it was like, that makes so much more sense of my life and my experience than anything I've ever experienced in Christianity.
Becoming a more progressive Christian made it a lot easier to, as I say, liberalize God and make God more palatable for a long time. So learning about the Bible was huge. Also, while I was at Marquette, I met my first openly gay friend. That was a massive rug ripped out from under me. Encountering him, he was even a believer, and made me just do a little bit of investigatory work on what does the Bible actually say about this? Oh, it turns out nothing, because homosexuality didn't even exist as a word or a concept until the late 1800s. And I saw a really powerful documentary back then called For the Bible Tells Me So by Daniel Karslake. And it was targeted towards Christian parents who had a gay child. And so it was meant to be like, it's okay, Christians, homosexuality can be allowed. It can be permitted by God. And so it went into some biblical history with the Sodom and Gomorrah story. And it went into some biology of how people are actually born this way and some theories as to how that works. And for me, it was a 180. It completely reversed my position. I became 100% affirming, thought people are born with the orientation they are. It's not a sinful choice. It's not a choice at all. And God made us. So if God had them born that way, it can't be wrong, is kind of how I started thinking of that. Brick by brick, things started to come apart.
Well, welcome again, and thank you for being here. So she was able to liberalize God a bit. But the question is, though, which God? Because can the God of the Bible be liberalized so that he can fit into whatever mold, whatever feelings, whatever sin we feel should be justified before him? If you want to say that we were born this way, remember, every single human being is born in sin. There's no person who is not born in sin. This is the very reason for which Jesus Christ came to this earth, because we were all born in sin. So when you want to liberalize God and now, you want to cross the sin off the list, which of the other sins are you also going to cross off of the list? Because we were all born this way. We were born in sin. Which other sin could someone else cross off the list? Because I was born like that. I was born a pedophile. Which other sin can you cross off the list? So, because if you want to be able to justify this one and say you were born that way, which one could you not justify due to the fact that you were born that way? If we are all born in sin and shaped in iniquity, which sin can we not justify? I was born this way. Which sin can we now not justify? Sin is not there to be justified. Sin is to be punished. Sin is to be repented of. But Jesus Christ came and he took the punishment for that sin. You cannot enter into eternity before the Most High with sin all over you and tell him that you were born that way.
A little bit after that, I started to really question and doubt the existence of hell. So you mentioned the cross and that being eminent and so important. I don't know that I would have said that. We, both my husband and I thought, there's no way a God who says that they are love itself could have hell. That doesn't mesh,
Right.
that doesn't fit. It either doesn't exist at all, or it's more like the Catholic's purgatory, where it's a temporary way station until you're ready for heaven. Or I liked Rob Bell's book, Love Wins, about, all these different theories over time that have existed about eternity. And maybe everyone gets to heaven and you're refined in the refining fires of heaven and you have to burn away all your sinful crap. And then now you're in heaven and it's all good.
Hell cannot exist if God is love. Now, this one comes up a lot This one comes up a lot, and I think this is one of Satan's trump cards, because this one it gets people thinking, how could a loving God create such a place? How could he be loving and still create such a place, such as hell, where there's eternal punishment and suffering? That is not loving, is it? In your mind, it's not loving. But just remember this: God did not create hell for human beings. God never created hell for human beings. Hell was never created with you in mind. Hell was created for those who fell from heaven, the devil and those who decided we're going to partner with you. But there's not going to be a separate place for human beings who also choose to rebel. Jesus made a way out, but it's up to you to choose that way out. Hell is not a place that was created with human beings in mind. God made a way of escape for human beings. That is love. Love. He showed love when he made a way of escape so that you don't have to go there. Rebellion automatically sends you there. Rebellion automatically sends you there. When you rebel against God, when you say there is no God, when you say God can't be good and you don't want to have, you want nothing to do with him, that sends you directly to hell. There's no other place for those who rebel against God. But it is your choice. It remains and will remain your choice. Everyone wants this cotton candy God who is just all good, who just gives all good gifts, who just never gets angry, who just accepts all sin, who says, you were born that way, so that's okay. It's all right. Nobody wants a holy God who can be just and righteous in the same way that he can be love. Nobody wants that God. So everyone wants to be able to create their own version of who God could be. We can liberalize him here. We can add some of this there. And we create our own idol. Because this God of the Bible, he can't be love. Look at the things that he does. He created hell, and he tells people they can't love who they want. We don't want anything to do with that God. We're going to create our own.
When I got to that point of asking myself that question, is God even real? It was 2020. I had been laid off in the pandemic. Physical therapy took a big hit. I was at an outpatient clinic. Nobody wanted to go work out in a gym around other people. And I was part-time. We had kids already by then. So I've been working part-time. So I was axed early on in the pandemic. So I had a lot of free time to think. And my husband was working from home. Our kids were still napping. So when they napped, I would go on these big long walks. It was on one of those walks that I got to that point where I said, God, could God be a human concept? Could God have been invented and created to answer our own cognitive stress, to give us a reason that life exists because chaos is uncomfortable? And I remember my heart pounding as I asked that. And I also remember then saying, no, I don't think they're out there. And the immediate sense of peace that I felt. It was terrifying to get there. It felt like in a horror film where the music is building and building and it's louder and louder and intense. And then it was just quiet. And I just felt a deep peace because it felt right. It felt like the right answer. I felt like I had arrived at intellectual honesty for the first time.
So your confirmation on something as important as whether or not God is real was that you felt a peace. You felt a peace about it. So automatically, because of that peace, it made it okay. That peace made it okay. Do you know who that peace would come from? That peace would come from none other but Satan. Because Satan would he loves when people fall into his deception, his deceptive traps, that there is no God. He will definitely give you a peace about that. Oh, for sure, you will get a peace about that. So you created God for your own peace of mind. We, as human beings, we invented God. We invented God. Imagine this. This is the heights of pride, This is the heights of pride to think that we could invent God. You could invent your own version of God, your own idols, which is what we do all the time. But no one, rest assured that no one can create the Most High. No one can create the Alpha and Omega. No one can create El Shaddai. He's not created. We are created. We create things, but he is not created. He rests outside of creation. He created everything. So no matter how much peace you have about your newfound knowledge or your newfound wisdom that there is no God, he will never be able to conform to that. God can't conform to your idea of who you think he is. He can't conform to someone saying there is no God. So poof pow, there is no God. You can live your whole life deceiving yourself as long as you want, but you're going to face the music when you pass through that gate called death. Everyone will pass through that gate and face the music. You will face the music that lies beyond the grave. So you can live your life deceiving yourself as long as you wish. But that day is coming. That day is coming where all that deception, whether it's self-inflicted or deception from Satan, which is the case for most types of deception, they will all fall to the ground. They will all come to an end. The truth, it will not remain suffocated forever. It cannot.
I just, my heart leaps to hear people's stories of escaping. It really does. It's one of the most beautiful parts of, the honor to be able to hear people's stories through a platform like this. And I can definitely echo that with my journey. I was sitting at a computer on a Saturday morning, just thinking through it and saying kind of the same things, like, is it possible? Is it this? Could it be? And trying to come up with those objections, like, what about this? Could that many people be deceived for that long?
Mhm.
All these ways in which we kind of pull ourselves back in. And eventually I was kind of saying to kind of talking to myself, and I could almost hear, like, the idea of like a drum beat that starts really low, like you can almost barely hear
Mm.
it, and then it gets just louder and louder. It was
Mhm.
almost like this drum beat saying, as if the other voice inside was saying, Tim, say it, say the words, it's not real. And just
Mm.
gotta say it, say it, say it, it's not real. And it's eventually just like, it's not real. And as soon as I
Mhm.
said it, I was like, that makes so much more sense of my life and my experience than
Mhm.
anything I've ever experienced in Christianity. That, like,
Yep.
all these questions, like the reason that this puzzle piece won't fit in niche is it's not meant to, it's not going to
Mm.
fit. It doesn't fit. And
Mhm.
the fact that we're looking for all these answers and feeling like we don't get them, or the ones that we get are they just don't feel right, and they don't feel like they're more like a gloss over. Like, that's the reason it doesn't work, is it doesn't work. And it's like I felt like I won the lottery. I was like, and of course,
Yeah.
like you said, that the aftermath was on your brain real quick, like, what just happened and how
Oh,
does this
shit.
affect the rest of my life? But at the
Yeah.
same time, it's like, I almost started laughing. Literally, I was laughing in my head,
Mm.
thinking I could have gone to my deathbed thinking it was all real. And I've
Yeah.
now got hopefully some time to redeem and actually live my real life.
Mm.
You think you could have gone to your deathbed thinking it's real. But that would have been a good thing for you to do, because then you would have died in peace. You would have died in peace, believing that it's real, because it is real. It's not about belief. I mean, God didn't leave this all up to belief, oh, I believe so. Because then everyone's feelings would be justified, because everyone can believe something. He didn't just leave it up to what we believe. But rest assured, if you go to your deathbed without having the truth, you will know it. You will know it while you're on that deathbed. You will know it. I spoke about this before. People who work in the places like the hospice or even the hospital, when they hear the screams of people who are crossing over into that side, or they see people with a beautiful smile on their face as they cross over, is it by chance? Is it by chance that some are screaming and some are begging people to get the heat off of them, while others are smiling and looking up? Is it by chance? Are they crazy? Do people get mad towards the end of their life, so that some scream fire and others smile and look happy? You just get senile towards the end of your life? Don't go to your deathbed believing a lie. Don't go to your deathbed thinking that because you say there is no God, that means there is no God.
With the afterlife that you used to, or that you grew up kind of thinking was real, did you have much trauma from thinking that that was now not going to be there? And like approaching the end of life topic, does it pain you to think about when you're gone and you're just like truly gone? You're not anywhere else. You're not coming back. You're not reincarnated. Most likely, you're not in an afterlife. You're just back to dirt, back to dust. And does that hurt emotionally to think about the nothingness that's coming? That was obviously parallel to where we were before we were born, but we didn't know it then. Now we know it in this interim.
Right.
Does the nothingness scare you at all? Does it hurt to think about what you thought you had and lost?
I, even as a Christian, was a little bit scared of heaven. I thought it sounded boring. I was so worried about, do we really just have to sing hallelujah at the throne for millions of years? Like, ugh, singing in church was never my strong suit. And so I used to be worried that I would not like heaven. So to me, the idea of just lights out feels better because I'm like, even an eternity of paradise would get old after a while. I really loved the show The Good Place and how they handled that. I don't know if you watched that.
Yeah.
I thought it was so good that they got to, finally, they get to the end of The Good Place and everyone's a zombie. Eternity is too long. You cannot keep yourself going for eternity, even if you can fly and meet Abraham Lincoln and do all the things you want to do. It's too long. And having that door to be snuffed out completely gave meaning to eternity. Well, that is our current life. We have a door that's going to snuff us out at the end. That's what's giving this life meaning. And so to me, it actually just, I don't know. It's not that scary to think I'm done. Like you just mentioned, we didn't exist before we were born. I don't remember that. I assume it's a similar feeling. I won't know. I've done a lot of reading on near death experiences, and that has brought me some comfort to think, okay, if there's something and we don't know how to explain those, people seem to have very universal experiences across the board who have near death experiences that are overwhelmingly positive. Seeing the light, an enveloping feeling of peace, palpable peace or love, seeing a loved one that's already passed. There's very common experiences that people have, regardless if they're religious or atheist, regardless what religion they are, regardless if they were committing suicide at the time of death. And that's why they're dying. So it doesn't seem to matter our choices in life, what got us there. There's folks that have had near death experiences who were mafia hitmen and were what we would, think the bottom of the barrel morally, still had that feeling of peace and love. And so it might just be our brains firing in panic, but some of these people's experiences go on for a long period of time, well beyond brain activities. I don't know. It's that to me is another big mystery. And it's comforting in the fact that, okay, well, if there is something, seems to be universal across the board, a good thing. So we all join that light or that love, that energy, and that seems to be a positive experience. So if there's a thing, it's going to work out, I guess.
Yeah.
And so, of course, we must speak about the afterlife because that is a big topic, especially for Tim. I realize that it's something that it's close to his heart. I don't know if it's because maybe he knows deep inside that the afterlife is real. The afterlife is real. Look how good God is to us in this generation. We have people that can come on a camera and say, listen, this is what I saw in hell, or this is what I saw in heaven. People in the past didn't have that, and they still believed because they knew, they sought God. But we have this technology where people can tell, all over the world, whether they're Buddhist, Hindu, whatever, they're coming on camera and talking about their experience in hell. And the only one that saved them is Jesus Christ. And here you are taking this by chance. It's as though someone is behind a big wall and someone else says to you, you know what? I heard that behind that wall there's a really big, scary looking animal. And then you say, well, oh, come on. And then that person goes behind that wall. They see the animal and they come back and they tell you, I went, and yes, it's true. There is a big, scary, it's like so hairy, it's so big. I saw the animal behind the wall. And you're looking at that person and telling them, oh, come on, you didn't go behind the wall. Oh, come on. What you're saying could never be true. And they're trying to convince you, I went behind the wall. Here we have people that have gone to hell, who've gone to heaven, and you can still sit up and say, whatever will be, will be. I guess you're guessing. You're something as final as eternity. You're putting it down to, I guess. She said, if there is something, it's going to work out, I guess. How is it going to work out? Huh? Tell me how it's going to work out, please. How is it going to work out when you're dead? How is it going to work out? Tell me how it's going to work out. You're dead. You're in eternity. You didn't accept Jesus Christ because you found that he was a myth or whatever else you found. And then it's going to work out. What is going to work out? What is going to work out? And how? How is it going to work? How is it going to work when you cannot change your mind any longer? When you had your chance to change your mind when you were alive, but you continued and you persisted in your mocking and your scoffing, and you never changed your mind. And now you say, well, if there's something that's going to work out, I guess. You don't even take a trip like that. You don't even say, you know what? If I show up to the airport on time, whatever, if I make the flight, I guess I'm going to make the flight. You make sure you make that flight. You make sure you make that flight. And here you are talking about eternity, something that cannot be changed or reversed. And you're saying, I guess. I guess. So this is what we're leaving our eternity up to. What we guess, what we feel, the liberalized God that we created in our minds. Because your soul is not that important to you, is it? I am pleading with souls. Time is short. For some people, maybe someone told them about Jesus yesterday and they accepted Christ and maybe they died the same day. It happens. It has happened. They died the same day. But thank God they made a right choice. But if you want to cross over into eternity with a wrong choice, rest assured, your choice doesn't eliminate God. It doesn't eliminate what comes next. It does not eliminate hell. It doesn't eliminate the devil. It does not eliminate any of these things. God is merciful. He has given us the breath of life. He's given us time to repent. He sent many, many voices in this world to talk and speak and say, this is true. People coming from all backgrounds, not just people who grew up in a church. In fact, many people who grew up in the church are turning their backs, but there are many who grew up in a temple or a mosque that are saying Jesus is Lord because of an experience that they had with him, a personal experience with him. And you're going to sit there and say that you figure this out and that in your determination, God can't be real. And whatever happens after, you guess it's going to work out. You guess it's going to work out. Leaving your eternity to chance. I am pleading with souls. Jesus Christ loves you abundantly. He died so that you do not have to die, so that you can have eternal life. While you're living and breathing on this earth is the only time that you have to make the right choice for your soul. Do not listen to people who will take you to the pits. Because chances are, say for example, you have 5 more years to live and they have 10. And in that 5 years, you never give your life to Jesus Christ. And you die in sin and you go to hell. But in their 10 years left, somewhere along the line, they make the right choice. But they derailed you. You ended up in hell. But they went to heaven. I'm pleading with souls. Think about your eternity and make the right choice. Time is short. Thank you for being here. Until next time.